Welcome to our channel. Tonight, we invite you to journey into a tale both beautiful and sorrowful. A story that lingers in the heart like the moonlight over restless waves. The story tonight is The Red Candle and the Mermaid, a tale spun by Ogawa Mime, whose beautiful stories have earned him the name, the Andersen of Japan. This story is a timeless piece of Japanese folklore that speaks of longing, betrayal, and the bittersweet bond between humans and the supernatural. It is a story as mesmerizing as it is haunting, one that captures the fragile line between hope and despair. So, sit back, relax, and let this poignant tale unfold, carrying you gently into its world of mystery and emotion. The Red Candle and the Mermaid. Mermaids do not only live in southern seas. They were also known to inhabit the northern oceans. The northern sea was a deep and vivid blue. One day, a mermaid climbed onto a rock, resting as she gazed at the surrounding scenery. The moonlight seeping through the clouds cast a melancholy glow upon the waves, illuminating the boundless, fearsome swells that undulated endlessly in every direction. What a lonely landscape, the mermaid thought. Although her form was not so different from humans, she could not help but feel the stark contrast between her kind and the creatures of the sea. Fishes, and the fierce, untamed beasts of the ocean depths. Compared to them, how much closer in spirit and appearance they were to humans. Yet, despite this, she and her kind were fated to live in the cold, dark, and soul-crushing sea, as if they were no different from the other creatures of the ocean. She thought of the long years spent without a single companion to converse with, longing for the bright surface of the sea. The mermaid found it unbearable. Thus, it became her habit to rise to the surface on moonlit nights, resting on a rock and losing herself in various fantasies. I've heard that the towns where humans live are beautiful. Humans are said to be kinder and more compassionate than fish or beasts. We, who are more like humans than the creatures of the sea, might surely find a place among them, she thought. The mermaid was blessed with the promise of a child, one she hoped would have a brighter future. For so long, we have lived in this lonely, desolate northern sea, where there is no one to speak with. I no longer long for a bright and bustling land for myself. But at least, I wish to spare my unborn child from this sorrow and hopelessness, she mused. The thought of parting with her child and living alone in the sea filled her with profound sadness. Yet, if her child could live happily, wherever that might be, it would bring her unparalleled joy. I've heard that humans are the kindest beings in the world. They never torment or abandon the helpless. Once they take something into their care, they never cast it aside. If we, who resemble humans so closely, not only in appearance but also in spirit, can survive even in the cruel world of the sea, surely we could find a place among them. If a human were to raise my child, they would never discard them in cruelty. So the mermaid thought. Moved by the desire to see her child grow up in a lively, bright, and beautiful town, the mermaid resolved to give birth to her child on land. Though it meant she would never see her child's face again, she believed the child would live happily among humans. In the distance, the faint light of a shrine on a hill near the coast flickered across the waves. One night, the mermaid swam through the cold, dark waves, heading toward the land to give birth. There was a small town along the coast, nestled beneath a hill where a shrine stood. The town had various shops, but at the base of the hill, there was a small store that sold candles. In this house lived an elderly couple. The husband made the candles, and the wife sold them in the shop. The townspeople and nearby fishermen would often stop by the store to purchase candles before climbing the hill to visit the shrine. At the top of the hill, pine trees grew tall, their needles whispering in the wind that blew in from the sea. Day and night, the sound of the wind swirled through the treetops, and the flickering glow of the candles lit in the shrine could be seen from the distant sea, swaying gently like a beacon. One night, the wife turned to her husband and said, "We owe our livelihood entirely to the blessings of the gods. If it weren't for the shrine on this hill, we wouldn't sell as many candles. We must always be grateful. I think I'll go up to the shrine tonight to pay my respects." "You're absolutely right," the husband replied. "Not a day goes by when I don't silently thank the gods, but I've been so busy that I haven't gone up to the shrine in some time. It's good of you to think of this. Please offer my thanks as well." The wife nodded and set off. It was a clear, moonlit night, as bright as day outside. After making her prayers at the shrine, she descended the hill. As she reached the bottom of the stone steps, she heard the sound of a baby crying. "How pitiful, an abandoned child," she thought. "Who could have left a baby in such a place? But how strange it is that I should find this child on my way back from the shrine. Surely, this must be fate. I cannot simply leave the baby here, or I would incur the gods' wrath. Perhaps the gods, knowing that we have no children, have entrusted this child to us. I'll take it home and discuss it with my husband." The wife picked up the baby, cradling it gently. "You poor thing, you poor little one," she murmured as she carried it home. Her husband, waiting for her return, was surprised to see her holding a baby. She explained everything that had happened. "This is undoubtedly a gift from the gods," the husband said. "We must cherish and raise this child, or we'll surely be punished for neglecting such a blessing." They decided to raise the baby. It was a girl, but from the waist down, she did not have the body of a human. It was shaped like a fish. The husband and wife immediately realized that this child must be a mermaid, just as they had heard of in stories. "This is not a human child," the husband said, tilting his head as he examined the baby. "I think so too," the wife replied. "But what a gentle and lovely face she has, don't you think?" "It doesn't matter what she is," the husband said. "She is a gift from the gods, and we'll raise her with care. I'm sure she'll grow up to be a wise and wonderful girl." From that day on, the couple devoted themselves to raising the girl. As she grew, she became a quiet, intelligent child, with large, dark eyes and hair that gleamed with a soft, glossy sheen. The girl grew up, but because of her unusual appearance, she was shy and avoided showing herself to others. These paintings were made by a mermaid, not an ordinary human. Soon, word spread, and people, both children and adults, flocked to the shop from morning until night to buy the candles adorned with the girl's paintings. The decorated candles were a huge success. Then, an unusual rumor began to circulate. It was said that if someone offered one of these painted candles to the shrine at the top of the hill and carried the remnants of the burnt candle, they would be protected from harm at sea. Even on days of violent storms, their boats would not capsize, nor would they suffer any fatal accidents. It's the shrine of the sea god, after all. Offering such beautiful candles must surely please the deity, the townspeople said. Because the painted candles sold so well, the old man worked tirelessly, crafting them from dawn to dusk. Beside him, the girl endured the pain in her hands as she painted with red pigment, pouring her heart into each design. I must never forget the kindness of those who raised and loved me, even though I'm not like other humans, the girl thought. Her large, dark eyes often glistened with tears of gratitude. This story spread to distant villages, and sailors and fishermen from faraway places traveled to the town to buy the candles. They would climb the hill, visit the shrine, light the candles, and wait for them to burn down, Then, they would take the remaining stubs home, treasuring them as talismans. As a result, the shrine's candles never ceased to burn, day or night. At night, the flickering lights could even be seen from the sea, casting a beautiful glow. The shrine gained great fame. "What a truly merciful deity," people said, and the mountain quickly became renowned. However, while the deity's reputation grew, no one thought about the girl who poured her soul into painting the candles. No one pitied her. Exhausted, the girl sometimes leaned out of the window on moonlit nights, gazing longingly at the faraway northern sea, her heart heavy with yearning. Tears welled up in her eyes as she remembered the blue, blue waters of her distant home. One day, a peddler from the southern countries arrived in the northern region. His goal was to find rare and exotic items in the north, take them back to the south, and make a fortune. Somehow, the peddler learned about the girl. Whether he had heard rumors or caught a glimpse of her himself, he realized she was no ordinary human. He saw through her disguise and identified her as a genuine, rare mermaid, something almost unheard of. One day, he secretly approached the elderly couple and offered them a large sum of money to sell the mermaid, ensuring the girl would remain unaware of his intentions. At first, the couple refused outright. "This girl is a gift from the gods. How could we possibly sell her? To do such a thing would surely bring divine punishment," they said. But the peddler was persistent. He returned again and again, and each time, he tried to persuade them. Mermaids have always been considered omens of misfortune. If you don't rid yourselves of her now, something terrible is bound to happen, he said convincingly. Eventually, the couple began to believe his words. Tempted by the large sum of money he offered, their hearts wavered, and they finally agreed to sell the girl to the peddler. Overjoyed, the peddler promised to return soon to take the girl away. When the girl learned of this, she was overcome with shock. The shy and gentle girl was terrified at the thought of being taken far away from the only home she had ever known to an unfamiliar, sweltering land in the south. Crying, she pleaded to the elderly couple, "I will work as hard as I can. Please, don't send me away to an unknown land," she begged. But the couple, whose hearts had grown as hard as stone, refused to listen to her pleas. The girl shut herself in her room and focused all her energy on painting the candles. Yet even as they watched her, the couple felt neither pity nor sorrow for her. On a bright, moonlit night, the girl sat alone, listening to the sound of the waves. She thought of her uncertain future, overwhelmed by sadness. As she listened, she felt as though something far away was calling to her. She looked out the window, but all she saw was the vast, endless blue sea bathed in moonlight. She returned to her seat and resumed painting the candles. Suddenly, there was commotion outside. The peddler had arrived to take her away, bringing with him a large, square iron cage mounted on a cart. The cage, reinforced with heavy bars, had once held tigers, lions, and leopards. The peddler saw her as just another wild creature of the sea and intended to treat her no differently from those beasts. If the girl had seen the cage, she would surely have been horrified. Unaware of what was happening, she continued painting, her head bowed. Then the elderly couple entered the room. "It's time for you to go," they said, trying to lead her out. The girl, unable to finish her painting due to their urging, ended up covering the entire candle in red paint. She left behind 2 or 3 red-painted candles, perhaps as a memento of her sorrow, before being taken away. It was a truly peaceful night. The elderly couple closed their doors and went to bed. Around midnight, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock. The elderly couple, with their keen ears, heard the sound and wondered who it could be. "Who's there?" the old woman called out. There was no reply, but the knocking continued. Knock, knock. The old woman got up, opened the door slightly, and peeked outside. Standing there was a pale-skinned woman. The woman had come to buy candles. The old woman, eager to earn even a small amount of money, greeted her without hesitation. She brought out a box of candles and showed them to the woman. But as she did, she was startled. The woman's long black hair was soaking wet and gleamed in the moonlight. The woman picked up a bright red candle from the box and gazed at it intently. She eventually paid and left with the candle. Under the lamplight, the old woman examined the coins she had been given, only to find they were not coins at all, but seashells. Feeling deceived, she flew into a rage and rushed outside. But the woman had already disappeared into the night. That same night, the weather suddenly turned, and a violent storm, the likes of which hadn't been seen in years, struck the area. At that moment, the peddler's ship was far out at sea, carrying the girl in a cage, heading south to the warmer countries. This storm, there's no way that ship will survive, the elderly couple muttered, trembling with fear. By dawn, the sea was shrouded in darkness, a terrifying and desolate sight. That night, countless ships were wrecked by the storm. From that point on, a strange phenomenon began to occur. Whenever a red candle was lit in the shrine atop the hill, no matter how clear the skies had been, a sudden storm would always follow. The red candles came to be seen as omens of misfortune. The elderly candle makers, believing this to be divine punishment, abandoned their trade and closed their shop. Yet somehow, from an unknown source, red candles continued to appear at the shrine, burning nightly. In the past, anyone who carried the remnants of a painted candle offered to the shrine would be protected from harm at sea. But now, even the mere sight of a red candle foretold disaster. Those who saw one were sure to meet their end, drowning at sea. Word of this spread quickly, and no one dared visit the shrine anymore. The once revered deity was now feared, and the shrine became a cursed place in the town. Many people wished the shrine did not exist at all. Sailors looked at the mountain with dread from the sea. At night, the northern waters were perpetually eerie. Endless high waves rolled and crashed against the rocks, foaming white spray into the air. When the moonlight pierced through the clouds and lit up the waves, the sight was truly unsettling. On pitch-black nights, when not even stars could be seen, some claimed to have witnessed a strange sight: the light of a candle drifting across the waves. The flickering light would gradually ascend, heading toward the shrine at the top of the mountain. Not many years passed before the town at the foot of the mountain was completely abandoned and vanished from existence.